Alrighty, good evening, everybody. We're gonna call this meeting to order on this night, Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026, 7 p.m. Hybrid Town Meeting, Board of Selectmen. I hope everybody's having a great evening. Thank you for coming on Zoom and on in person due to the weather tonight. I know it's kind of miserable, but we got a lot of business to take care of. So I'm glad I see some people on the Zoom room. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, if everyone could rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. All right, we have some meeting minutes to approve. I have a whole stack of them on my desk if anybody in the audience wants to overlook them, or my fellow counterparts do. But before we get there, we're going to do roll call. We have in attendance myself, First Selectman Nick Donahue, Larry Consiglio, Selectman, and Jeff Bolte on Zoom. Thank you all for attending. All right, so approval of minutes. We're going to go through on our agenda. We have A through F. Per order, we're going to approve each one. So I'll announce that. We'll take a motion and then a second and then vote. And then we'll go through each one. We get a lot on the agenda today. So without further, line A, Board of Selectmen meetings from February 3rd, 2026. So I have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Larry with a motion. I'll second that. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Jeffrey, you can unmute and kind of just stay unmuted if you'd like.
Not Jeff.
Oh, didn't know that. Okay, so for that, Jeffrey Bolte is not in attendance. Thank you. Sorry, Jess. Okay, so we have those meeting minutes passed for line A. Line B, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance joint special meeting February 5th, 2026. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Line C, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance joint special meeting February 12th, 2026. I'll make the motion to approve. Second. Larry Consiglio with the second. All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous. D, Board of Selectmen special meeting February 12th, 2026. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye has it. E, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance joint special meeting February 18th, 2026. I'll make a motion to approve.
Abstain. I was not there. And I was at the 19th meeting also.
I don't think you need to abstain. You just have to, well, I guess, yeah. I guess we're gonna have to table that one. And you were not on the F either?
I was away.
With Jeffrey not here, we're gonna have to table those two. You just make note of that on the, whatever. Alrighty, correspondence, next up, there's some stat work, DSPP service reports for December. This Connecticut State Police Emergency Services and Public Protection gives us these every month, specifically from Troop D Danielson. It outlines accidents, investigation, burglaries, larcenies, non-reportable matters, DUIs, traffic conditions. So we'll enter this into the record here. Excuse me, I'm just gonna go through that. All right. Next is going to be NDDH Substance Use Monthly Report, January 26th, February 26th. I also have that here. And give some stats of regionally. If anybody wants to see that, it'll be available. Next is going to be Tech Associates Province Worcester Railroad Vegetation Management Plan Herbicide Applications. What they do is right-of-way vegetation management with cutting and herbicides starting April 15th. I do have a letter from them just outlining where they're going to be working and what they're going to be doing. So I do have this as part of the record. So currently that's what I have for correspondence for this week. So we're going to move on to Selectmen's comments. All right, Selectmen's comments. let me just take a look. I do have a couple selectmen's comments. As everybody knows, we do have a budget presentation to the Board of Finance, which the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Ed present at the school, 7 p.m. on Thursday, which is an opportunity for citizens to come out and listen and learn about the current state of affairs and finances that are the town of Thompson. And that's the entire town of Thompson. From there, we approve to send that budget to the Board of Finance to make further adjustments, whether that be increases or cuts. I do anticipate some more cuts coming. The Board of Selectmen did subsequently cut out about $360,000 from the budget, fairly conservatively, but I do anticipate more things coming. I also wanted to just kind of, quickly read into the record under my comments were a letter that I received from the school regarding budget increases and capital increases for school operations. It is my opinion in the town of Thompson that things, although people do not want to hear this, things have been cut for years or barely funded for years. And we are at the point of close to bankruptcy. And I think if significant changes aren't made, we'll be there. The school currently is requesting a 9.9 increase to the total of 2.153737 million, so 2.1 million increase. A lot of this has to do with pupil services, almost 900,000 there, contractual salaries, which 3% raise across the board, it's about 500,000. District-wide, 220,000, building and plant maintenance, 158. Other salary increases, 95,000, health insurance increases, 259,000, transportation, almost 50,000. They're at the point, and we're at the point in general, in all buildings, that roads are not getting paved. We're having to borrow from other budgets to simply solve the roads. Every department is down employees. The school is at a critical level of employees. And I think it's really important for people to know the full optic of the situation at hand. I'm not going to sugarcoat things and tell you things are rainbows, glitter, and unicorns, because they are not. Everybody states that they want a thriving town. They want businesses to come to town. In order for businesses and industry to come to town, we have to have good schools. We have to have good roads. We have to have good infrastructure. And by continuing to cut those things like town highway trucks or teachers or paving, we're further destroying our town and really causing more problem for ourselves. And that's how it's been for years. We need to keep a robust public safety service. They've been underfunded for years. We're at that point. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Budget season coming, you are going to see a raise in your taxes. Just like everything else has raised in the state of Connecticut, your taxes will raise too. There is not an option for level funding. Level funding would mean bankruptcy, to be quite frankly honest. There's capital improvements that need to be done across the board, and I want to be transparent with everybody. I know myself, Larry Consiglio, Jeff Bolte, all want smart, balanced budgets. We'd love to see no tax increases, but that is not remotely realistic. Not even close. I think we all got into this office with a lot of integrity and honesty, and we wanted to make positive change. The first positive change that needs to be done is this ship needs to be upwritten, and if we don't do that, it's going to really mean the rest of our town. And I don't mean to doom and gloom, but we need to paint a realistic picture here. So that's what I have there as far as selectmen's comments. Mr. Consiglio, do you have any selectmen's comments?
Just to piggyback on what you just said, we need the community support. We need everybody to come out, listen to the presentations, see where the money's being spent. Why we need the increases is very obvious. As Nick said, we've been kicking the can down the road. I've been here in town for 35 years, and we fight every year for a budget. Every year for a budget. And level funding is just not feasible anymore. Okay, we're beyond that point. So I encourage everybody, come to the Board of Finance meetings, come to the workshops, and support the town and the schools.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, we will move on to citizen comments. Kind of my favorite time of the night. This is where we like to hear from everybody, and we're gonna start with the Zoom room, and then we'll go to the audience in person. But first, Ms. Jessica Bolte, name and address if you want to unmute and say whatever you need to say, and if we have anything for you, we'll reply.
All right, Jessica Bolte, 1081 Riverside Drive. Wanted to let you know that the Board of Education has a letter that we will have available for signature on Saturday, the 7th. We'll be at Main Street Gelato from 8 to 10 in the morning, and then again from 6 to 8 in the evening. For those residents who do not feel comfortable using an email communication, because I am going to be attending CABE's Day on the Hill on the 11th. So I will be knocking on Representative Stewart and Senator Flexer and Gordon's doors, as well as other members of the Education Committee in regards to the state's lack of attention to the economic cost sharing grant that occurs, as well as the lack of discussion on the Hill in regards to special education funding this year. One of those budget presentation slides that you'll be seeing on Thursday is a pretty stark visual in regards to what we actually receive from the state year over year compared to what our taxpayers here in town are required to pay based on the mandates that are coming from the state. If any resident would like to sign on Thursday, I will be up at the auditorium outside the doors at 6:30 with a signature sheet as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Bolte. I think that speaks to a good point, and I'd like to reply to that citizen comment that I briefly talked in Selectmen's comment about the financial status of our town. I really, 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 really encourage our townspeople, our taxpayers, to reach out to your local reps, your local senators. It is an election year. Please capitalize on that. The lack of town funding from the state and the Fed is deplorable. It's disrespectful. It's unrealistic, and it will bankrupt our town. And really, most of our financial constraint comes from that lack of funding. So thank you for those kind words, Jess. Any other citizen comments in the room? I see Miss Valerie Clark. Welcome. Please unmute yourself. Name and address.
Valerie Clark, Elm Road. I have a number of comments. I'm sure they're not going to be well received. So starting with, a number of meetings over the last 2 weeks for the town have been canceled and no notification given. They were notified after the fact, and I found that very difficult, and I would like us to get better about that. If we could, please pay attention to those. I also was very disappointed that an extremely important meeting of the Board of Selectmen was held during a work day, and I think more citizens should have had the opportunity to have attended the meeting where, yes, some money was cut from the proposed budget, but that money was through equipment that was going to leases. There were a number of items that were added to the budget that I don't think we really need to have. They've been discussed before, and I do not personally agree with them. And it was a long meeting. I was privileged that I was in a position where I could attend and benefit from having heard the entire meeting, but it should have taken place when more citizens could have attended. I appreciate Ms. Bolte's efforts to petition the state to give the town more money. And I think at this point, I'm going to end my comments at that. But the positions that are being proposed to be added in town, we need to not do that. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments, Valerie. Thanks for coming in tonight. Any other citizen comments in the Zoom room? I know there was a question, just to confirm, Main Street Gelato, 8 to 10 a.m. and 6 to 8 p.m. on March 7th. Outside also will be available outside the auditorium on 3/5 at 6:30 for the budget thing, the budget presentation on Thursday. So I just wanted to note that to the room. I know that's kind of important. All right, in person, do we have any comments before we move forward? Showing no comments. All righty. We are now on to Veteran of the Month. Today we have an awesome opportunity and somebody here who has served this country honorably for many years. And I can't wait to hear more about that. So go for
Okay, thank you, Nick. Um, Again, it is my pleasure this evening my pleasure and my honor to be able to say a few words on behalf of a military hero from this community. Someone who has given much of his military life for his community, and it didn't stop there. Um, And I think maybe tonight I'm gonna start from the back end and work my way to the military part of it. Ron Barron is our 21st Veteran of the Month since we started this program a couple of years ago. And I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again, that each very deserving Veteran of the Month for their military career has also been an exemplary person in our community. It doesn't stop. I guess if you go in the military, you learn certain things and you carry those through your entire life. And that has been the case with all of our previous Veterans of the Month, as it is with Ron Barron. Um, um, Ron Barron has probably done more for the youth of this community, excluding the school system, as a volunteer than anyone that I know. He donated, volunteered 16 years of his life running the Thompson Little League program. He was known and is still known around town as Mr. Little League. I'll bet that most people in the community, if you said Ron Barron, they wouldn't know that he was an Air Force hero and did other things. 99% of the people would say Thompson Little League, because that's what you were known for a long, long time when you were leading the Thompson Little League as a vice president and a president for that entire 16-year period of time when the Thompson Little League was in its at its very best. You grew that system to over 200 boys and girls playing minor league, little league, t-ball, and senior league each year. You were passionate about needing more fields up on the Little League complex, and you were responsible for the expansion of the Little League field in the late 1970s. And you were also involved on a state of Connecticut District 11 involvement. And because of your influence, the town of Thompson, 169 towns in Thompson, the little town of Thompson in the far northeast corner got to host the state of Connecticut Little League Championship, state championship in 1981, featuring a team from Fairfield County, Stamford, and New London County, New London. Stamford and New London came to Thompson in 1981 because we had the best Little League complex in the state of Connecticut. And it was thanks to this veteran that we're talking about tonight. And he did such a great job there that he was recruited when the WPTP football program started. Stock, Putnam, Thompson, Pomfret. He was recruited to be the first coach of the Thompson Colts program, the Thompson piece of that WPTP program. And he led it for 8 years. And ironically, not ironically, but because of his dedication and the way he had with youngsters, he won 5 Super Bowls out of 8 years. So, and the story goes on and on and on about Ron outside of military. But I wanted to point those couple of things out because it amazes me. You know, we have 100 or so people who have been nominated for Veteran of the Month, and everyone that we picked. So the committee has picked so far has excelled in the military, but also in the community. So it bears to be said here this evening. So let's talk a little bit about Ron's military career, because that's what we're here for tonight. On January 13th, 1965, civilian Ron Barron reported for his basic training duty at the Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. At the conclusion of his basic training, he was transferred to the Pease Air Force Base in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, where he underwent extensive training in his military advanced career as a transportation specialist. At the conclusion of this training, he remained at Pease Air Force Base for another year and very quickly became the personal driver of choice for all of the majors and commanders that were on that base. He was commonly referred to on the base as the transportation expert among the top brass there. Airman Third Class Barron received numerous awards and citations for his professional and courteous manner in which he completed those responsibilities. Frank Soto, transportation superintendent, wrote that Airman Barron had been selected as the driver of the year in 1965, the driver of the year in 1965. He stated that he received this recognition for his incentive to comply with all established rules and regulations, for his safe and efficient operation, and for his courtesy to other vehicle operators. Ron has completed an outstanding record of motor vehicle operation and has contributed many extra hours towards the completion of his missions. Numerous other letters of commendation and appreciation were written by the commanders and majors. When Airman Barron was not transporting his superiors, his duties included loading and unloading luggage and equipment on and off the B-47s and B-52s coming in and out of Pease Air Force Base for reassignment. In January 1966, Airman Barron was deployed to the Hickam Air Force Base, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Because of his exceptional work as the transportation airman at Pease Air Force Base, he was immediately assigned to be the personal driver in Pearl Harbor Base by the Air Force Base Commander, Colonel Philip Skikes. This assignment allowed Airman Barron to personally transport. It gave him a lot of great opportunities. It allowed him to personally transport many world and military leaders at Hickam Air Force Base, including some of the names: Madame Chiang Kai-shek, who was the wife of the President of China, Cardinal Francis Spellman, John Burns, the governor of Hawaii, General Waters, the Secretary of the Army, and countless more. Of particular note, Airman Barron transported the commander of the Japanese Air Squadron that attacked Pearl Harbor on that fateful December 7th day, and also transported the Crown Prince of Japan. Among Airman Barron's duties and responsibilities also included the transportation of many dignitaries for their opportunity to visit the USS Arizona Memorial, a most memorable visit to be cherished. As the Air Force Base Commander's personal driver, Airman Barron also had many opportunities to transport those entertainers and dignitaries who would often stop by at Hickam Air Force Base on their way to entertain the troops in Vietnam. They would perform a show for the military personnel at Hickam before moving on to Vietnam. Among many of the entertainers that Airman Barron transported around Hickam Base included the likes of Dinah Shore, Julie London, Teresa Brewer, Paladin of Western television fame, Arthur Godfrey, and numerous other entertainers who were household names at that time. There probably aren't many people in this room who remember those entertainers. I do. Airman Barron and his wife, Sharon, who's here with us this evening, goes to show how much respect Ron had on that Air Force base. They were both invited as personal guests of the commander of the Pacific Base Command, Philip Skikes, and his wife at a reception in celebration of the 90th birthday of the United States Air Force held on September 17th, 1966, celebrated at the Officers' Mess Hall at Hickam Air Force Base. Pretty impressive for a young man from North Grovenendale and his wife. On October 14th, 1966, Airman Barron and 21 other airmen received temporary duty orders to report to the mothership USS Granville Hall at Pearl Harbor Naval Base for a 30-day secret mission to participate in Project SHAD, SHAD, Shipboard Hazard and Defense. Veterans' exposure to chemical and biological warfare agents. The airmen were transported hundreds of miles from Pearl Harbor to the middle of the Pacific of unknown location between Guam and other very remote islands. Many of the substances used in this testing were stimulants and traces presumed to be innocuous, such as, I can't say those words, but some of those tests involved active agents such as infectious bacteria, Coxella burnetii, which causes Q fever, and the nerve agent sarin and VX. This is where it's interesting. This was a top secret mission that was never to be spoken about. It was redacted, and these airmen could never inquire about or get any information regarding what had been administered to them until Project SHAD was first publicly disclosed in 2000 and subsequently became fully declassified after the 50-year classification period ended in 2016. This has prompted many of those veterans to inquire about what impact that involvement in that testing may have had on their health and what testing agents had been administered to them. SHAD veterans have expressed frustration regarding the requirements to document their participation in Project SHAD when seeking disability benefits from the Veterans Administration. That's because it never happened. It was redacted. Even though they were never allowed to keep records or documentation due to the classified nature of this testing mission. Air Force veteran Ron Barron is among those who participated in this secret testing and is frustrated and angry at the government cover-up. And I'm go on to say here, for those who have read it, you may research much more regarding Project SHAD online if so inclined. This research will certainly give you much empathy and a better understanding for what these veterans have lived with and make you very skeptical about how our government handled this top secret mission over 50 years ago and what impact this testing had over a lifetime for these veterans and their spouses and their health, children's health and well-being. This is a very, very serious thing that's just come out 50 years later because the 50-year redaction period ended, and this certainly got my attention, and is among the reasons that we're honoring veteran Ron Barron with this this Veteran of the Month. After this secret mission, Airman Barron returned to Hickam Air Force Base and continued his duties there as previously assigned until his tour of duty was completed in 1969. He was honorably released from active duty and then transferred to Westover Air Force Base in Massachusetts and served as a reservist for an additional 2 years until ending his military career on January 12, 1971. For his exceptional, notorious service, Airman Barron was awarded the Air Force National Defense Medal, the Air Force Commendation Medal, the Air Force Americanism Medal, and numerous citations and commendations from General John Ryan, Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Air Force, and Harold Brown, the Secretary of the Air Force, for his service at Hickam Air Force Base. On a personal note, let you know that Ron was born to parents Ed and Bernice Bruno Barron on May 3rd, 1944 in Webster, Massachusetts. He had two brothers, Edward and Theodore, and a sister, Darlene. Ron was educated at St. Louis Grammar School and is a graduate of St. Louis High School, Webster, class of 1962. After graduating from high school, Ron worked in the sheet metal industry, learning on the job, working first for Frank Sheet Metal Company in Natick, Mass, for many years before venturing into his own sheet metal business, Barron Air Systems, that he built into a very productive and lucrative business in this community until his retirement. So that gives you a little something about Ron's military career, very, very different from anyone that most of us have ever met. Still suffering from a lot of those issues that we're talking about. I think we're getting close to getting finally to getting Ron and other veterans some recognition for what happened over 50 years ago on the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Hawaii. So at this time, I'll say congratulations. Thank you for your service. The first selectman has a little something for you.
Ready? All righty, come on up, sir. You can take a seat if you'd like, or stand. It's completely up to you.
You're gonna stand up, man.
All right, fair. All right. Town of Taunton honors Veteran of the Month, Ronald W. Barron, Sr., United States Air Force, 1965 to 71, Vietnam War veteran, 30-day secret mission on USS Granville Hall, Project Shad, recovery of wounded and deceased returning from Vietnam, Hickam Air Force Base, Hawaii, family members of mortal casualties, personal driver for Colonel Philip A. Stites, Commander Hickam Air Force Base, Hawaii, lead driver of the 817 Transportation Squadron, Please Air Force Base, for Major R.J. Stites,
Thanks.
President of the Thompson Little League for 16 years, oversaw the expansion of the complex. First coach for the WPTP Thompson Colts micro football team, 8 years, and that team won 5 Super Bowls.
Right.
So on behalf of myself, this entire town, thank you for your service from a grateful community. Thank you. All right, well, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
I appreciate you.
Yeah,
Larry,
yeah.
have a picture.
Yeah, you wanna take a couple photos with your family? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
More pictures. Here, come on in, come on in. Get these two with us on the side, and then, you guys can take a picture together. Good. All right, and then, we'll do a family.
Smile, Mr. Barron.
Good. Thank you.
All righty, you guys are free to stay or free to leave, it's up to you.
Okay.
But there might be some paint that we're gonna watch dry in a couple of minutes. Just a warning.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Nice job, Reading.
One, come here.
Thank you so much.
Very proud of you, Jack.
Always.
Oh, I know you are. It's great. Yeah. Great.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you.
Yeah, so you're, free to go home before we get, the roads get too bad.
Right on the table behind you.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Thank you guys for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Drive safe.
Find a good place to hang
Yeah.
that plaque. Well deserved.
Sure. Be careful out there.
Yeah, only for Joe Tom Street. Hey, Joe? Yes, sir. Okay, take it easy.
Thank you again.
Good, done.
Oh, yeah, take this.
All you.
Protect the top. Appreciate it. You're very welcome.
Yeah, you're only gonna go up there, 12 grand downstairs.
Have a good night.
Yeah. See you guys.
Bye, have a good night.
Bye. Thank you.
Be careful.
And then we're gonna try.
Be careful.
We're gonna start talking about numbers, so it's gonna get dangerous. So I may have you come up to this table so you can be on camera, as much as I know you don't want to. I don't think you can cover, it gets a little tricky. All right, so we're gonna move on to our next agenda item. You get some big shoes to fill after that.
Yeah,
So,
and unfortunately, this isn't as pleasant as that one.
yeah, but equally as impactful on the same topic. So on next agenda, ordinance related to cap on property tax exemptions for veterans with a service-connected permanent and total disability. We have our a gentleman here from our assessor's office. He's going to introduce himself and talk more about this issue. We do have some packets here within the selectmen's packets that we're going to go over. But take it away, sir.
I am Paul Hopkins, the assessor for the town. And it's kind of timely that this came up. Unfortunately, following a great hero, we're going to talk about disability exemptions that the town has to offer to our veterans. And to go along with what was talked about earlier, it's another unfunded mandate that's been issued by the state that the town has to enact. For the 2025 grand list, the state issued a new mandate that anybody that's 100% permanent and totally disabled as a veteran is entitled to their dwelling to be fully exempt. So in the first year that we enacted this, there were 17 individuals and a total assessment on their properties of $3,589,050, which equated to a $68,191.95 tax loss to the town. For this grand list, we now have 22 people, so an increase of 5, a $5.49 million assessment, which is about $1.5 million increase, and a tax loss of $95,948.10. So an increase of almost $30,000 of exemptions lost in taxes. Just so far this year to date, we have 4 individuals with another additional cost that will come on the books for next year of $13,792.10. So as we see, this number currently stands at almost $110,000 of unfunded mandates that other taxpayers have to help compensate. The state has this past cycle issued a change that we can do to the program, which is cap the amount of the exemption at the average residential dwelling price in town. So the average residential assessment in town is $182,150. So that exemption equates to about $4,661 tax reduction, even at the capped amount. So of the current 26 applicants that we have noted in the system, 14 would be affected. So it's almost about 50% would be affected by this change. Some of the key factors that I found interesting, of the top 5 tax abatements, which is 6,100, 6,300, 7,200, 7,600, and 7,800, the average age of those individuals is 36 years old. So these will be exemptions that will be on the books for most likely a substantial amount of time. As a caveat, the 5 lowest exemption totals are average 73 years. So that was just an interesting tidbit that I found. And of the new applicants that just came in, the average age is 32. So as we see, if we go unchanged with the current methodology, this mandate could get quite expensive. So I would like to discuss having a town meeting set up for an ordinance to be passed that we enact the cap. So if we did issue the cap ordinance, that exemption total would go from about $110,000 to about $81,000. So we'd be saving the town almost $30,000, and that's just this year. That's not accounting for the fact that the people seemingly coming onto this program are younger and buying the more extravagant homes in town. So as this continues to grow, if this pattern holds, we could see this total, if it goes unchanged, get out of hand and end up costing the entire town substantial amount of tax dollars that need to be recouped by all our other taxpayers. So my proposal tonight is, as I presented the ordinance, I would like to discuss if we would be willing to set up a town meeting to hopefully pass and enact that local ordinance.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. I guess my first question is, and I'll say this as a statement first, because I think it's very important that I know everybody in this room and everybody in this town cherishes veterans, active duty service members, past, present, their service to this country, their service to this town. So I think that's important fact number one. I think it's also should be noted that just like the state of Connecticut, I think they put things on the books and maybe not look at the full implications of this. I guess my next question is a two-part question. Do you have any percentages or data on other Connecticut towns as far as caps? Is this something that is now regularly starting to show up?
It is. So Putnam just passed this, and it's being talked about in most communities. So if it's not something that we enact, I could see where this could potentially find its way to impact us even greater. That if we are an unchanged town, that would be, from a personal perspective, if I was not in town and I found that we had this type of large exemption, I would definitely target Thompson as a residence. So it is something that Putnam has already enacted, but almost all the communities here in Windham County now are openly discussing passing this. But several other communities, Stonington, for instance, and I believe Enfield has also enacted this cap. So it is now, although it's a fairly new option, it is growing legs fairly quickly.
Okay, I guess my next question is, let's see, if and when you're a service member, and this is very theoretical, you're disabled out at 100% from the military. Do these people have any sorts of income verification for their now citizen life? As far as, are they able to work? Are they able not to work?
It depends on a case by case basis, but yes, they all have different levels. Some have the ability to perform duties that would earn them income.
Okay.
We're not privy to that information. There's no income based to this program, so we're not privy to the amount of income. Simply by being designated 100% disabled through the VA, then.
So it would be a fair statement to say that even though you've been disabled from the military at 100%, you could still hold a civilian world career job.
And it would stand to reason. Some of the newer people that with the 100% disabled taxes, you're looking at almost 9,000 for the top three, 7,500 for the next few. So these are taxes that are not going to be simply paid on a.
No, I guess my next and final question is, this may have a negative impact on some people, lowering their cap. Will this also, on the flip side, have a positive impact on other people raising their cap?
No, because it puts a cap on it. So if, for instance, your taxes are lower than the capped amount, you would only be exempt to what your dwelling is. So this only affects those people that are above the average.
Mr. Consiglio, do you have any questions?
Yes, just to clarify, the median assessed value,
Mhm.
you're saying is 182, 150.
Correct.
Okay, so any property over that
Mhm.
would only be assessed at this amount,
Their exemption amount
their
would only,
exemption amount.
would only be assessed to that amount,
So they still would have, a tax liability
above and beyond.
above and beyond.
Mhm.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Right, so there are several on that high end of our valued properties that would see their taxes rise because of the cap. There are 14 of them. One is only $6, so I would say that one was almost a wash. So there's really only 13 that are actually generally affected.
And how did, and the assessed value is derived at?
So during the so from the reval numbers, we in our system code single family residential dwellings with one specific code. So we can pull out the numbers from our system for all single family dwellings. So I compiled that total and then just divided it by the number of single family residences.
Do you have any questions for us? Most importantly?
The only question I would be is, what, would you need for me to, get the meeting scheduled?
So I know, we have a couple other ordinance changes that are in conversation right now that have not been proposed to the Board of Selectmen officially, but publicly I'll speak on them because I think it's important. For not only transparency, but being economical, voting locations was one of them. Regarding condensing voting locations, we have 2 congressional districts here in the town of Thompson. Right now, we have 4 voting locations. It is very costly to have 4 voting locations, so I think that is an ordinance that is going to be proposed to take the 4 to 3 or 2, if we can, depending on our voters and what they so choose. But it will save us a significant amount of money. So I think that's gonna be proposed rather soon. And then I've been working with animal control about a leash law. Because we've had many instances, especially at West Thompson Dam, of dogs being off leash, biting people and creating a public safety hazard. Leash law is very common across our state and every bordering state. So that's another one that I think is gonna be proposed. I will say that I will make a motion because I think it's important that the town and the townspeople weigh in on this through a referendum vote. I will make a motion to accept this and send this to referendum with a date to be determined. I don't think I want to necessarily put a hard date on this tonight, but I do want to start the process. Give me a second on that before we, yeah, okay, we have a second. Do we have any discussion about that? I think, and just to kind of to clarify that, like I said, I'm anticipating a couple more what I would describe as motions for an ordinance change that will go to town, and I'd to be as fiscally responsible as possible. I'd like to get as much bang for the buck and do it all at once. You know, we will be having a referendum quite soon for budgets and maybe 2, which I probably anticipate. And maybe we could do it at that time too, and I have to really check into the legality of that and whatnot. But that being said, no further discussion. We'll take a vote on that to push it to town meeting for a vote for referendum for ordinance change. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have 2 aye, and that passes for tonight. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your time
My pleasure.
and your hard work.
Thank you very much.
Alrighty, next up. Public Works, mailbox damage policy. Mr. Joe Tasek, our gracious DPW director, is gonna quickly come up and talk about this. We've had an influx of damaged mailboxes, not only from the obvious being plow damage, but significant weight of snow and ice. Or Jeffrey's packet.
Take that.
So, we have met and we're running into a lot of situations of champagne taste on a beer budget, so to say, where we have 40-year-old mailboxes and they've been knocked over and we go and put them up. But citizens are dissatisfied and now they want an $800 or $1,000 mailbox, which I think this is a very reasonable policy to enact, but Joe's gonna get down and dirty and kind of talk about his side of it and put it on the record. So Joe, you're up.
Joe Tasek, DPW Director, Town of Thompson. I came up with a policy and I used a bunch of other towns and went online and looked at other towns' policies. And we have been pretty gracious with the repairs and replacements. And I came up with these guidelines, which is also using the Postal Service compliance on heights and in locations of them. Also, what is eligible to be repaired and why it should be repaired. I came up with the town of Thompson doesn't cover damage caused by snow thrown from the plow, snow cast. With this winter we've had slush underneath, we've had ice and mailboxes not destroyed. We've had some that we will repair, but a lot of them, just the snow pressed up against them in the door getting bent or the mailboxes being old and neglected. And when we get to them to repair them, they shouldn't have been repaired by us. They should have been repaired by residents, homeowners, such as, so I wanted to come up with a standard of replacement upon my approval, it being inspected. And basically, if we hit the mailbox with the plow or we run it over, it can be any time of the year, that does happen, that we would gladly replace that and do what needed to be done, but with a cap on it. And it will also be reimbursement if they desire, and it will be all standard. There are some mailboxes out there that are quite expensive. I talked to one gentleman that had his mailbox made in Amish country. I'm not going to Pennsylvania to get your mailbox. I'm sorry, and it's quite expensive. And I got most of these standards. I changed the prices to what is in our area for what it costs for a standard post. If you go to Lowe's or Modern Lumber in a standard steel mailbox, there would be something that would have to get checked by me to make sure that we did hit it, or we did back over it, because that does happen. And also a small setting in there, the clause the town doesn't reimburse on plastic mailbox posts. The weather was so cold that you could have broken them by hand, and the snow just touching them shattered plastic mailbox posts, mailboxes, anything decorative or premium, things that cost hundreds of dollars. We will replace the standard if we do damage it. Or they can get the reimbursement and take the money and put it towards whatever they prefer to have. With a small piece in there on who to contact for emails, photos, and timeframes and things like that. I want to inspect those mailboxes. I really do, because a lot of them that I look at, they have plastic decals on them that the snow has taken off. And I've really got a lot of flack from, it's a federal offense when we knock that mailbox over. It is not a federal offense. The clause is in there from the federal law. It is routine snow plowing. It is accidental. It happens. It happens. We have a choice of roads and things. I can say Rainey right here removes his mailbox. He lives on a straightaway on the road, and when he knows the snow's coming, he goes out and takes his mailbox in. it doesn't get destroyed because I'm sure.
Back on the next day.
Put it back on the next, I'm sure it got destroyed. You learned a lesson with that. I'm sure it got destroyed a few times before you figured that out.
Figure that out.
Yes. And
I think Lars,
Lars has your run, yes. And there's also in the end of this little policy, what is responsible by the residents? The posts, the mounting, the screws, or if they do patchwork, and to report it to us immediately. Because I get phone calls that 2 weeks ago, we knocked your mailbox, you knocked the mailbox over. I didn't know about that. We don't know, you gotta let us know, and there are times we do have.
Yeah, the burden of proof then could disappear.
Yes.
It could be an Amazon truck. It could be a
It could have
UPS
been many a thing. And even if something comes up with the residents that their mailbox got destroyed in a car accident in the middle of summer, we have temporary mailboxes that we put out. And gladly put one out for them, and we don't have any at this time because they are all out being used. And as far as I'm concerned, it's the responsibility of the resident to make sure that their mailbox is secure, and the snow will come, and it has come this year. And I know everybody says we go too fast. If we go slow, there's gonna be a cart path. We have to remove the snow from the road. And there's no way out of it. If we do 2 miles an hour by your mailbox, I've also had the ones where there's snow in front of my mailbox and I can't get to it and I can't shovel it. So we go by and then they call up the next day and said, you went by fast this time and you knocked my mailbox over.
Sure.
So I just wanted that to be clarified too, that it is not, I feel it's not the town's responsibility to replace it if we were pushing snow and we didn't run it over. We didn't knock it over with the plow, or in cases of cul-de-sacs, we back around and we back into things. We'll gladly come up and fix that.
Sure.
That is not a problem. That is our fault. And the price for a standard steel mailbox is approximately $30. The wooden post is $75 for max reimbursement, $105. We have many of them to do this year. We're gonna be in the thousands of dollars because of the weather. And that's about all we can do with it.
And I'd like to, and I'll add some context and you can kind of butt in if need be. You know, Joe and I had spoken about this over the last month a lot, and I think as an optic outside looking in, people's probably gut reaction is, so the town of Thompson's gonna break my stuff and not fix it. Okay, so let's clarify. This is going to set a standard of how to install your mailbox, where to install your mailbox, as far as heights, widths, how far back from a curb cut. I know a lot of things and a lot of mailboxes in Thompson will install and no one worries about it till it falls over. So 50 years later, when your mailbox is held on by one screw, it's rusted and the post is rotted out. On one weary Sunday night, snow touches it and it falls over because it's been up for 40 or 50 years. It is a reasonable expectation to have the town help you fix it. But to say that you broke my mailbox that's been there for 50 years and it's rotted out and is rusted and is held on by one screw, and now I need $1,000 to replace that mailbox is unreasonable.
Definitely.
And I think that's the conversation that we've had. And that's what we're running into a lot, is this unreasonable expectation of, I haven't maintained my mailbox, but it's your fault that it fell over and it's circumstantial. You know, we had, you know, we'll talk about it now because I want to bring it up publicly. We had an individual where we knocked their mailbox over and the crew went and picked it up, drove away, turned around and came back. And that homeowner, because they were dissatisfied with the temporary fix, ripped it down and threw it in their front lawn. And that is unacceptable. And I will publicly say that's unacceptable. We're here to help you. We're here to restore your property, but it's got to be a two-way street. It's got to be a reasonable expectation. And right now, it is becoming extremely unreasonable. And I can give many cases like that. And I'd be happy to speak with any citizens further in my office
And
to
also,
go over that.
even with the replacement of a mailbox, you can't replace your mailbox and your post this time of year.
No, ground's frozen.
We have too much frost in the ground, there's too much snow on the side of the road. If you need help, you are elderly or handicapped or just can't do it, we'll come out and basically Mickey Mouse it up for you so you can receive your mail. That's no problem. And then you can replace it in the spring, or when the weather's nicer. We can help you get your mail. It's not that I want nothing to do with it. There has to be a standard set.
Setting the standard. Yep. In our expectation of your mailbox that you installed for $50 40 years ago is not worth $1,000 and 40 years later.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I will say outlandish claims that are being made. That being said, Larry, do you have any questions, comments, concerns?
So the residents need to have reasonable expectations. Okay?
Yes.
So to standardize it and you know, everybody knows what they're gonna get reimbursed for, what the town's responsible for, makes sense. My mailbox over 35 years in years ago, it would get taken out. It happens. So I put a brick mailbox in.
Mm-hmm.
No issues anymore. Okay? But reasonable expectations. It happens.
Yeah.
You know, I live on a straightaway also, coming down the hill.
Coming down the hill.
Coming down the hill. So no issues anymore.
We've even had metal posts
No question.
and we knock them over.
It happens.
And you look and it's rotted. We're out there welding. And anything can happen.
Just like your home, you need to maintain your own personal property. It's not the town's responsibility to take care of your yard or take care of your home, okay? Residents own their own responsibility for taking care of their
Correct.
boxes also.
Correct.
If it's in good repair, we knock it over, I can see it, but perfect standard,
Yes.
everybody knows.
So this gives an option for us fixing it, replacing it, and or just giving you a single
Yep.
one-time payout.
Yep.
A reasonable expectation is it needs to be filed and you need to submit a claim in a reasonable amount of time. That does not mean weeks to months after the incident. If in fact you have any photograph or video evidence, please submit that
Yep.
with the said claim. I'd be happy to give this proposed policy to anybody who wants to come and see me, or I can post it.
Even put them out on them.
Yeah, we can put it out on the bulletin board. I think it's reasonable. And not only it protects the town from a liability standard, but it also protects our residents too, because there will now be a standard, so it's a guarantee, you know.
There's no gray area.
There's no gray area, so I think it's a good on both sides. So that being said, I'm gonna make a motion to accept this policy.
Second that.
Okay.
And just one quick, what are we looking at so far this year for mailboxes?
How many in total? Let's hear it.
We're close to it. We're close to the 70s.
7.
Wow,
Yeah.
That's
substantial.
And I made up 5-gallon pails with temporary mailboxes and scrounged them up and actually some ones that we've replaced, we took their mailboxes and made temporary ones and we have them located in different areas of the
next
town.
question. Out of the 70 mailboxes, were half of them in good repair, disrepair? What's the percentage on?
I'd give it, to be fair, 50%. 50% were, okay, post literally broken, and it happens. A lot of the plastics, like I talked about. And I have a bunch of the mailboxes at the shop that we replaced that had around the door, had a orient plastic piece. And when that plastic piece is gone, the door won't stay closed. So we have a perfectly good mailbox with a broken piece of plastic that we had to replace with it. And I just go buy the standard cheap mailbox. So,
Okay.
and mine has been knocked down before by my own guys also. So it
They didn't even
happened.
tell you.
No, they did. They did.
They were even more. All All right, so we're gonna take a quick vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, that passes. We do have that. And anybody who wants that, I'd be more than happy to send it out. Or post it on a weekly update or in a comment thread. Oh, all right. So we are now moving on to, DT Regional Development Authority Transit Oriented Development Presentation. Let's see if I have that gentleman on. Let's see. This person's gonna be on Zoom. Stand by. Name is David Chorus. We're just waiting for this individual to jump on. Hmm. So real quick before this person jumps on, I have some information. We can briefly talk about it. So we kind of sought out the Connecticut Municipal Development Authority. The CMDA helps municipalities in Connecticut grow and thrive, focusing on achieving vibrant downtowns and mixed uses, walkable neighborhoods around train and bus rapid transit systems. As everybody knows. Hey, David, how are you? We're just quickly going over kind of your form and what you're about. I'll let you speak in a second. So, as everybody knows in North Rosedale, we have a district downtown that has rail going through it. We're in the process of renovating many structures, an old school, two mills, 65 Main Street, all of Riverside Drive recently got repaved and re-sidewalked. Main Street project's going to be happening soon. We have some bridge projects that are going to be happening soon. So this allows us to have more options and more available funding and state help to push our projects of beautification and infrastructure down the line. And David's going to talk real quick about kind of who they are, what they do, and what they do for us. I know tonight we'll have some discussion publicly with David, and then we'll open it up to citizen discussion. And then we'll go from there. So, David, if you want to unmute, you have the floor, sir.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I'm really happy to be here. Sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight, and sorry to be in my car, but I'm between other events, and appreciate the opportunity to join you virtually. So, yeah, I mean, I'll give you a brief overview, and I think more important to be available to answer any questions that folks might have. But the Municipal Development Authority is a quasi-public authority established in state statute, and our role is basically to be a diverse, broad toolkit that can be mobilized to help towns and cities achieve their development objectives near their train stations or in their downtowns. And so your eligibility would be based on your walkable kind of mixed use downtown. And the way in which we could provide support is through technical assistance on things like zoning or development plans or financial. And we have a $90 million bond authorization from the state, and that can be used in support of housing, building demolition or rehabilitation, or anything that falls under the heading of development or redevelopment. So it's a very broad toolkit that can support infrastructure or any number of things that will help to incrementally achieve your development, housing, and economic development objectives. The way that we operate, it's a multi-step process. The first step is the one that's before you today, which is the opt-in by the local legislative body. And so far, in the first year or so of our operations, 42 municipalities have done that. And then we enter into a process with you all where we roll up our sleeves, better understand your development objectives, look at your local regulations, and ultimately, sign off on your zoning or provide recommendations. We don't have any authority to overrule. We don't usurp any local control. All the development regulatory processes remain within your local purview, as they always have been per your charter. And once we ultimately get to a place where we have sort of consensus around the development plan and your zoning, we ultimately enter into a memorandum of agreement with the first selectman that will establish the boundaries of the development district, and then projects are eligible for funding within that district. And so it's meant to be a really, as I said, sort of diverse and broad toolkit. It's really meant to be mobilized in support of municipalities that are trying to grow in ways that are appropriate for their kind of local conditions. And it's very much in line with the governor's objective of kind of towns taking the lead and providing the resources and the support to help you in that effort. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any, Larry, do you have any questions for this gentleman?
Yes, David, is this a bid process that, or for the grant? How does the grant actually, get
Yeah.
awarded?
Yeah. So once we get to the point of having an established development district, then we can entertain applications either directly from the municipality, which would be in the form of a grant with some, cost share to be negotiated, or we can be requested directly from a developer, and that would be in the form of a loan to support a development project and provide gap financing. There is an application process. There is a review process. Ultimately, the projects go before my board, which is a 16-member body that includes appointees of both the governor and legislative leadership from both parties, and then ultimately to bond commission for final approval. But the first step is sort of getting to that district, then it's eligible, and then either the city can, or the town can apply directly to us, or developers within the district can apply for loan financing.
Are these matching grants or
There will,
standalone?
yeah, there will be a match, but we negotiate that on a case by case basis. We take into consideration, your ability to pay, grand list, et cetera. And so there's not a fixed match rate, and that'll be determined at the time of application and with full transparency and negotiation with you all.
Now, does the grant money cap out at a certain amount, or does it go by project?
No, it's by project.
Project, okay.
Awesome. I don't have any questions. Does anybody in our audience in person have any questions? Paul, come up if you want to come up and just say name and what.
Paul Hopkins, Town Thompson Assessor. I communicate with a lot of developers through our assessment information. Is there some contact information that I could provide to them? And if is this for mixed use, commercial only, residential? Is it for anything or just a specific term?
Yeah. Yeah, no, great questions. So I'll have the first selectman give you my email, and then I can connect you with the member of our team who could be a point of contact for developers. They're basically low interest subordinate debt, but the types of projects, we have a broad mandate for economic and transit oriented development and walkable, vibrant downtowns. We're very housing forward in our early initiatives because of the kind of crisis across the state, but we can support, we would support mixed use to reinforce kind of the walkable Main Street, and we can support commercial development, but it's not our priority in the near term.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Anybody in the Zoom room have any questions? You're more than happy to unmute and ask those one at a time. Showing no further questions. David, I have a quick thing. So there's a bit of a assessment and application process that you, from our earlier conversation, you identify an area that is zoned applicably, and then from there make a assessment into, I don't want to say binding contract, but I'll use the term contract to then identify that area. Is that a safe statement?
Yeah, we start with a conversation about the eligible geography in town. And so we get to a definition of what we would consider the downtown per our statute. Then we look at zoning within that area. And then we will either certify a zone or zones as being amenable to housing production, or we will provide recommendations. If we provide recommendations, that then goes to your zoning commission, and it's totally within their purview whether or not to take them up. But ultimately, we would get to a certification of a zone or zones that would define the development district that, as you say, First Selectman, would be ultimately codified in a contract between us that establishes the boundaries within which we can fund projects.
Okay, I guess big question, is it gonna cost us anything initially to opt in?
No, there is no cost associated with membership, and every member community gets free technical assistance and consulting support that's valued at, between 25 and 50,000. And then it's not till we continue down the path as we start talking about projects that we, get into cost share and match, but there is no cost of entry, and there is inevitable immediate pro bono benefit.
Okay, and next and final question for me, and this is just, I'm kind of reading, and this is more, would you say it's a fair statement to say that towns can exit at certain points in the process? So if we decided in a year or 2 years that, hey, maybe this isn't for us, is that an option?
Yeah. So the way that we describe it is that there's off ramps, right? So at every step in the process, there's an off ramp. Once you opt in, you can decide not to go through the zoning process. If we certify zoning, you can decide not to enter into a contract to establish the district. If you establish a district, you can decide not to pursue project funding. It's always in the town's prerogative whether or not to take the next step. If you seek funding from us and you are, awarded funding for an infrastructure project, there will then be some duration where our relationship, will continue commensurate with that project or the results of that project. So that's a long way of saying, there are points in time where, based on the resources that we've allocated to the town, there would be a longer term commitment. But we're a long way away from there, and you have multiple off ramps between here and there.
Okay. Well, I don't have any further questions. I think you've explained it and very well, and I appreciate your time. I'm going to make a motion to opt in to the CT Regional Development Authority Transit Oriented Development Program. Do I have a second on the floor?
I will second that.
Do we have any discussion before we go for a vote?
No, David, thank you for your enlightening us on this. I think it's a great program. And where are we in the infancy of this program right now?
Yeah, so we commenced operations in July of 2024. The first 6 months were getting things set up. So we're about a year into municipal engagement. And as I said, 42 members so far. 14 of those 40 have moved to the stage of district establishment and project funding eligibility. And we're going to start to award our first project funds this spring.
Great.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes, David. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks so much, and looking forward to working with you all.
Likewise. Likewise.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Alrighty. Next, Recreation requests to close Bates Ave for annual Easter egg hunt on Thompson Common, March 28th, with a rain date of April 4th, 2026. I do have a letter in hand from the Recreation Director requesting this. Do I have a motion to accept?
I make that motion to accept.
All right, I second that. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That passes. Promise, we're almost done. All right, next one is gonna be request for use of town roads for special event. I believe it's TT's Spirit of Giving, Nico Strong Motorcycle Run, June 28th of 2026. I do have a request here, regarding that. I did initially approve that, special event, but it, per procedure, it's gotta go to us. Do I have a motion to accept on that?
Yes, motion to accept.
All right, and just for the record, I do have a list of this application of roads that it will affect.
Yep.
This is a multi-town, multi-jurisdictional event, and it does pass through Thompson. I do have a certificate of insurance from that vendor too, so that's fantastic. I do have the motion on the floor. I will second it. Any further discussion?
Just the roads that are gonna be, impacted is, Route 131 through Thompson to Route 12. Right on to West Thompson Road, local road, continue on to Woodstock Ave in Putnam. So, I don't think they have a number of how many motorcycles will be coming through. But, those are the roads that they're gonna be on.
Okay. Any further?
Nope.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, that passes. Thank you. Okay, next appointment, constable, a Mr. John J. Sullivan Jr. This individual resides at 155 Wager Road. It's a bit of an application process here. I just want to make a motion to appoint that individual as a constable. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
All right, any discussion before we take a vote?
No discussion.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have that appointment made in full, if you want to sign that real quick. Let's see next, other business. I have no other business. Do you have any other business, sir?
No, sir.
I just want to hit home the budget presentation, 7 PM, high school auditorium. I would love to see some smiling faces there. Even not smiling faces, that we can at least agree to disagree and get you some hard facts and information and go from there. That being said, final citizen comments. In the room, any final citizen comments? In the Zoom room, final citizen comments. Miss Jess Bolte, if you want to proceed first. You can name, address, and go with your citizen comment.
All right, Jess Bolte, 1081 Riverside Drive, just a friendly reminder that we do need the traffic application completed for the 250th parade on July 4th. And a reminder to residents that the application to put in a float is on the Thompson Rec page, as is a sign up for the 5K on April 25th. And to also not forget that there is the American Band concert on May 2nd in the auditorium in the evening after Community Day or Maker's Fair. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Miss Valerie Clark, you're up next.
Valerie Clark, Elm Road. Excuse me?
Larry Consiglio signed the wrong document line on my form, so we're gonna have to get a new appointment form. So I was just pointing out that a mistake was made, but you're more than happy to proceed.
I sure am happy. So if the policy from Mr. Tasek could please be posted also online, as well as the recommendation that it be on the bulletin board at the town hall. It'd be
Yes.
helpful for residents to review. I think that it's reasonable, but that was just from what I heard. I would want to take a look at it. I also wanted to call out that there were residents at your last selectmen's meeting, that was an in-person meeting, who remarked on that they had had mailbox damage and they fixed it themselves because they are respectful of what the highway department does. So then I guess my next comment is, I feel as though the vote that you just took on the transit authority, whatever that was, the regional district,
Yeah, regional.
that was taken awfully lately, and I feel as though that should have been more publicly discussed with more people aware of it, rather than it just be something that flew by on a selectmen's meeting. That was a significant decision, and I think that more townspeople should have been involved. And then the last item, and it may be just that this is a long meeting, but I believe there were several times this evening where you took votes and didn't have a second, or that you didn't have a motion in place at all. And I think you need to be careful about that. Thank you.
Definitely had motions and seconds on all of my votes tonight, and I'm sure the recording of this video will capture that. That being said, I definitely agree with you. People should be coming to our selectmen's meetings. There was a lot of important business that we discuss and talk about. I put videos out on social media advertising it. We put out public notices with the agenda. I'd totally be open to more suggestions to get people out, but I honestly, I don't see there being any more that I can humanly do. Other than maybe have, food and candy and desserts for people to come. I don't know what more to get people here. So I agree with you. I agree with you. It's a frustrating notion that a lot of things that are important and impactful aren't more well attended and better discussed under citizen comments and citizen discussion, just like that transit oriented thing. I appreciate your time, Valerie. I know you are extremely dedicated to this town, and I very much appreciate it. And Valerie, I know you got your hand up, so you're more than happy to reply.
So specifically to this transit thing,
Yes.
I only became aware of it on a modified selectmen's agenda. And I didn't know what the proposal was. I didn't know anything about it. So I had no opportunity to digest it, comment on it, anything like that. I heard 5 minutes from a guy in a car. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Miss Sally White, you're next up for citizen comment.
Good evening. Sally White, 308 East Thompson Road. Unfortunately, I had a necessary distraction for a few minutes when the man in the car was speaking. I heard just a little bit. Is it my understanding that whatever it was, that there are obligations and terms and conditions that the town would have to be bound to? And is there any money involved? I don't know quite what the nature was, what it was, even when you.
Yeah, and I wish, and I apologize that you had a thing, and there was an opportunity for discussion and questions and comments, and I feel bad that both Valerie and you unfortunately didn't get to participate in that because it was important. But I'll recap because it is important. The Transit Oriented District is a quasi-government organization that the state put together a year and a half ago. It allows these people to come in and give us free technical advice on zoning regulations and plans to develop and make our community better in regards to like walking and development and residential. Specifically, they sought us out because of our downtown Main Street and Riverside Drive area. We have the St. Joseph School project that's going on. We have the Mill project. We have the Belden Corticelli project. This will all, and other projects too. This will give us the option to apply for grants through their agency. It will give us the option to have contractors apply for financing through their agency. That both of those things we wouldn't have been privy to. It doesn't cost us anything. There was no stipulations that we have to be bound to. It's an agreement that we enter into, but we can exit at any time. I met with this gentleman a couple of weeks ago for probably an hour. He drove up all the way from New Haven, presented some stuff, and I do have some packets here that kind of are like a Q&A packet that I'd be more than happy to give anybody if they need. But it appeared to me, and I think it appeared tonight, that it is all good and no bad. It doesn't cost us anything. It doesn't put us in any type of legal stipulation of binding agreement or anything like that. It just allows the doors to open for more state and federal funding, both to us in the form of grants and to contractors developing our areas in the form of low to no interest loans. I hope that answers your question, and I'm totally happy if you have a follow-up question.
Thank you very much for that. And I did have a follow-on question unrelated, and that is, could you just briefly summarize the status of the building land and situation there at the foot of Route 200, please?
Oh, at Belding Court Shelley?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I think the status there, that developer Robert Luskis with Refined Living had come to our Mizrac meeting. I believe that was 2 Fridays ago. They're in the process of a friendly foreclosure. They sent a legal notice out, and the person who holds that deed had till X amount of date to answer that to contest a friendly foreclosure. That date has subsequently passed. So from there, a motion is being filed to take possession of that property, which hopefully should be wrapped up in the next 8 to 10 weeks. I know that developer has shared interest to get going on that property with both the mitigation side of things as far as the brownfield side, and if so, clearing out that scrub brush and some of the bricks in the areas unaffected. So that's where that project is still moving forward very aggressively. And I will say, from a personal opinion, I'm pretty happy with it. That person is in this building probably once a week, touching base with us, keeping in contact, showing his commitment. So I will say I'm pretty impressed by that.
What
And,
did you say his name was, please?
Robert Luskis from Refined Living.
Refined Living?
Yes, I believe that's the name of the company.
Luskis. Okay. And please share what the tax status is on it.
I believe he did pay an in-kind payment. I'm not exactly sure about how much.
$10,000.
$10,000 to the town out of, I believe, the $65,000 back tax bill on that. And I believe that's the status currently.
So what is an in-kind? Is that kind of sounds like it really isn't a payment? Is it a
Well, it's not because it's not his tax debt to pay. So I guess I would categorize it as any in-kind payment. So for instance, Marionopolis isn't taxed here in the town of Thompson. They have subsequently paid payments to the town of Thompson in lieu of taxes. In-kind donation is what I guess I'd characterize it as. So I'm just using that as a term of, I guess, nomenclature to the payment.
are the back taxes lost?
Are the back taxes lost? The back taxes are not lost.
How are they going to be recovered?
Tax agreement in place.
So there is a tax agreement in place.
With whom?
Paul, do you want to answer to that?
So there's a tax agreement that was passed, it was probably around this time last year, with Refined Homes and, the town that defines what, the repayment of those taxes would entail. So basically, they've been deferred while construction's going on, but, through the scope of the project, eventually the taxes will become current.
Okay, thank you.
Sally, do you have any further questions or comments?
All set for the evening.
All right, thank you. It was wonderful hearing your voice, and I appreciate your attendance. All right, that being said, that's all I have for tonight. I will take a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight, and have a safe and wonderful evening, and keep dry.